Hey everybody, welcome back to the Quest for the Bestest. It's the podcast for Backlog Banter where we review every single Best Picture nominee for the calendar year 2026. Today, we are talking about a much anticipated film, One Battle After Another. You know, you heard of it, directed by Paul Thomas Anderson. It's got quite a few stars in it. We've got Leo DiCaprio, Sean Penn, Benicio Del Toro, Chase Infiniti, Teyana Taylor, and more. I mean, quite a stacked cast here, and a storied director. So we're gonna see how this newest entry in the PTA lineup measures
This is our
up
first
against.
PTA review.
It's kind of we
We've
have
been
done-
nominated for Best Picture. No,
We
wait,
won
we did
well.
Licorice
We
Pizza.
did Licorice Pizza.
I
Licorice
forget about that movie.
Pizza.
I forget about that one.
Yes, many people do. And we will probably discuss if people will forget or not about One Battle After Another. I just want to get right into it. So we gotta quickly talk about what we did last time. We had The Secret Agent out of Brazil. That film got a 7.9 out of 10, ending it up on spot number 3 on the list. And so today we're gonna add One Battle After Another somewhere on there. Abram, hand it off real quick to you.
Yes.
Comment from the field.
Yes.
Oh, man.
We have a good comment here from a great friend of the show. Goes by Phil the Pill in the Discord. Join our Discord. Link is always in the
Friends
description.
too harsh a word.
Oh, harsh. Goodness.
I just like to say shit.
Well, Phil says this on our recent Quest review of Frankenstein, of course, also up for Best Picture. Says, I can already tell some of y'all are going to be pretty harsh on this, but no one better shit on that little CGI mouse that befriends the creature. It is gorgeous. I haven't heard a single criticism of it that makes any sense.
There's some great bits happening in the Frankenstein comment section.
Yes, there were.
The context of that being that someone else made a more serious comment about us not liking the movie, but not hoping that we wouldn't besmirch the cinematography. And so Phil copied that word for word, but replaced cinematography with CGI rat.
Okay, I didn't see that comment. Just for posterity, that comes from the Cat Indeed. So this is a little bit of BLB infighting, because the Cat Indeed, also the treasured child of the, of the Quest for Bestest, who says, I can already tell some of y'all have been pretty harsh on this, but no one better shit on the cinematography. It is gorgeous. I haven't heard a single criticism of it that makes any sense.
I'm sorry, I just had an idea.
Yeah.
That we start ranking all the comments we read, and we'll quest for the best comment. Quest for the best commenter. And we do a tier list of
it is
season
slim pickings
6,
out there.
Maybe season 7 will do that, and that'll keep us going for hundreds of years. We got hundreds of years of episodes with that.
Certainly. Now, Abram, there is one more comment on that Frankenstein video that I think you should read out. It's from a treasured recent addition to the fans of BLB.
The
Kindle book
stable.
fan left a comment.
Oh, wait. I didn't see this comment.
we actually do have to follow up on
Hold
this.
on. This is a great point. This comes from Kindle Book fans. Hey, y'all. I like this video in discussion. Frankenstein was amazing. I didn't use Chat GPT, but I did use Wikipedia. I got caught up in my enthusiasm for this Romanian film. Sorry for the confusion. Kindle Book fan, no need to apologize.
Thank you for coming back into the comment and clearing your good name. We probably were a little too harsh, probably ran down a road of a few too many bits on that one, and we
stand
do
by
apologize.
your past comments.
No.
Here's the thing, Kindle Book
He
fan.
disavows. He disavows.
I disavow.
The amount of ripping is proportional to how much we like you, right?
Yes, exactly.
That's true.
So Kindle Book fan, just understand that you are among the most treasured children of BLB. I would actually go as far as to for restitution, put you in the BLB child power rankings above Phil.
Wow,
I'm willing to do that right here.
Kindle Book fan might be up there with. Was it John Tor 11 who is in the comments discussing Star Wars?
Yes,
with Abram
Star Wars with Abram over the course of months.
months.
It took them months to litigate this thing.
Years.
Yeah.
Well, I just mean in terms of coming back and having a little back and forth, a tete-a-tete in comments.
That's a great
precedent.
Phrase.
Yes. Okay. We got derailed. I really want to talk about this movie at length. Tanner.
Yes.
Snap, crackle, pop. What happens in this movie?
Well, Timo, thank you so much for asking. What we have in One Battle After Another. One Battle After Another is the tale of his real name is Pat Calhoun, but for the auspices of this review, we'll be referring to him as Bob Ferguson. He is a revolutionary. He belongs to the French 75, where he meets Perfidia Beverly Hills. They begin a romantic relationship that soon results in them having a child together. That child is named Charlene, but again, for the purposes of this review, we'll be referring to her as Willa, I feel. They have these double names because eventually they come under the thumb of one Colonel Stephen Lockjaw, an anti-resistance military official who takes a keen interest, especially in Perfidia Beverly Hills, an interest that we will be discussing, I'm sure, in detail. Perfidia Beverly Hills is captured, and so Bob and Willa must go into hiding, go into effectively the Resistance's version of the Witness Protection Program. And they live that way for about 16 years until Colonel Stephen Lockjaw is up for nomination for the Christmas Adventurers Club, a secret, hyper-powerful white nationalist group that we will also be discussing in detail, I'm sure.
They forgot to mention the Christmas Adventure Club nominees at the Oscars.
They did, yes.
Academy is lacking.
It'd be fun to do a retroactive, like who would have been nominated in previous years.
Well, we could probably name a few. We
probably can.
Where was I though? But Colonel Lockjaw now has to clear his past, capture, and potentially kill Willa and Bob by that same idea. And so the film is obviously more of a chase of Bob trying to reclaim Willa as she has to be carted off, and she's eventually captured by Lockjaw.
That and many more happen. Lots and lots and lots of things. Many different little crumbs for us to follow. Abram, I want to hear from you first. You rewatched this. I believe we all rewatched this because it came out a couple months ago.
Yes.
And what did you think this more recent time?
I am over the moon for One Battle. I'm not going to go at length because obviously we're going to go at length in the collective. But I think what I would just say is that I find One Battle to be so funny. I think that's my biggest takeaway every time I rewatch the film, because I've seen it 3 times now. My second time seeing it also in the theaters with a friend of mine who hadn't yet seen it. I was introducing her to it. And I was just sort of reveling in watching her reaction to the things that unfold. I think that the film's ability to be so funny, both by playing it straight and by leaning into the bit, is wonderful. And it really endears me to the world. And I think that to have a core that is so prescient and so specific in what it's skewering makes this for me a brilliant and endlessly watchable movie, particularly because the craft is so good, particularly because I think the writing is so sharp, and it also has my favorite performance from DiCaprio ever in it. I really can't get enough of One Battle.
Tanner, you're next. Follow that up if you dare.
Sure. I also love this film. Only my second time watching it, unfortunately. I only saw it once in theaters. Fake fan, indeed. Fake fan, indeed. But no, I think it is a really, really interesting pseudo-Pynchon adaptation from PTA. Especially, before watching it, I watched all of PTA's films, including Inherent Vice. And I only bring that up because my girlfriend Anna also watched this with me last night. She's seen a couple of PTA films, and she asked what it was most similar to. She asked, is it like a Magnolia? Is it like a There Will Be Blood or whatever? I said, no, not really. It honestly it does have the most in common with Inherent Vice, though I think it is obviously pitched at more of a crowd-pleasing kind of angle than that film, because it is really, really well plotted and exciting and propulsive, while also having those Pynchonian sort of black political comedy things in them. That dark sense of humor that runs through it, while also I think PTA very smartly adapting it for a modern political landscape, and why I really feel like it is the perfect kind of film for this political moment.
Tucker, you get to go next, and then I will round us out. What did you think?
Yeah, I think that the Don Cheadle Word of the Day, if I'm going to take it from Abram, is fun. I think this movie is just fun and funny, and I had a great time with it. It's so instantly iconic in so many of its elements and its lines and its performances. I personally, I know that there's a lot of texture here in terms of thematics, and I love Quest. That's really what we're going to be here for. But for me, my personal relationship with this film doesn't go too much deeper than I think it's just very fun to watch. I think it's held back for me because while I do think that it is well plotted and is propulsive, I find for me that comes in different stages where I think that there's so much, especially of this like long second, third act melding pot of like chase that gets a little tired to me. There's too many stages to this where I'm like, look, you cut one of these out. We could have just kept things moving a little bit quicker. But I like it. It's got the themes and it's got the craft to back it up and the performances. But for me, my main mode of thought is that Bob is funny and Lockjaw is funny and the sensei is funny and this is a really interesting movie because it is entertaining and is watchable, but it got that extra touch behind it where you can keep digging. So yeah, I'm a fan of it.
Well, I'm going to be completely unsurprising here and say that I really like this one also. Yes, I found it fun. Yes, I found Leo's performance great. Yes, the VistaVision looked incredible at the theater. The first time I saw it, I got to see it on VistaVision, which was really cool. Got to have that beautiful distracting flickering the entire screening. So this time I went and saw it at a digital screen and it looked just as good. It was just as big. And yeah, it's just like such a watchable movie. It's a prescient movie. I think that this one in a very short time has ripened. This movie, you guys have talked about the craft, but I'm going to just like be Mr. Current Events guy. Like this movie is incredibly on the nose with, I think, the political situation we find ourselves here in America in this kind of like future looking, but not kind of way. It's like it's in a sense of it exists in a world that isn't strictly the here and the now or the past or maybe the future, but it's conceivable as all of those things, depending on how deeply you want to look into, American history with immigration, right? Which is what the kind of political thrust of this movie is somewhat about. A little bit about revolution and a little bit about fatherhood and family and all kinds of other stuff too. So I just find like all these moments, scene after scene after scene. I mean, this time I felt it rocketing along. I had to get up and go to the bathroom in the middle, and by the time I sat back down, I was like, oh wait, I have like not a lot of movie left. Like here we go. It's like almost at the end, and I thought
you just in the bathroom for 45 minutes.
That's somehow I took a really long time. Yeah, so I think there's tons to talk about.
He walks out of the movie, he's like, wait, Will is Lockjaw's daughter?
What? And so yeah, tons of detail that I think I picked up on better this time around, and this movie includes elements that allow me to be selfish and indulgent in a movie, and it's not all that often that I feel like a movie plays to a fellow like me, and this one does, and so. I really like it. I think it's my number one on the year. If I'm gonna show my hand, I think it's the movie of the year. Will it win? We shall see. But if there's gonna be one that's gonna go on it forward into into the future, and that we're gonna remember as a 2025 movie, it's gonna be this one.
Sure.
So Tucker, given all that topic area that you wanna kick us off with, something that you've interested in thinking about on the second watch of the film, right? Second, you saw it. Or two times or three times?
Two times.
Okay.
I called Tanner a fake fan. That wasn't me saying I wasn't a fake fan because I've only seen it twice. I saw it twice. And my starting place, drum roll please, is going to be Mr. Stephen J. Lockjaw. Because I think that Sean Penn gives my favorite supporting performance of the year. I think that it's a year with a lot of good supporting performances, but his performance, the character of Lockjaw, and the narrative that he is that he's dealing with in this film of really, it's just a really unique situation for a character to be in. I've really never seen anyone be in this situation before. And the Christopher's Adventurers Club element of it, that to me is the most interesting part of the movie. And so I that's where my mind goes when I think about this film. I think that Lockjaw, as he stands as this very hateable, villainous character that has ultimately a lot of really funny little quirks that make him like kind of endearing. I think he's just a fascinating character. God, that man moves his lips. He moves his lips so much. And the way he's like really stiff when he walks, and the way that he like, I mean, he has so much lingo that he says, just the weirdest words and phrases he's pulling out of his ass. I mean, I just think that section of the film I have no notes on. I just think it's so unique and engrossing, and I love Sean Penn's performance.
I'm so glad you started us here, Tucker, because there was one line from this watch that stuck with me above any, and it's a line delivered by Sean Penn. It's when they're on their way to the Sisters of the Brave Beaver, which is just so funny. Also,
God, just like so many, we're gonna have this with every moment of this movie. Like,
yes.
Oh.
and he's stopped at this like roadside store, and he's arrested the proprietor of the store, and he's looking for information. And he says a line that I think is so critical, and it makes me really think, to Timo's point about how the prescience of this movie growing by the week. Lockjaw, after he learns to go to the Sisters of Brave Beaver, says to the other military goons he's with, he goes, "Let's go do what we do." And I think that is such a brilliant line, because obviously this performance and this character of Lockjaw is very concerned with this real, like, far-right ideological idea of purity, and this notion that the purity is so pure that most of the people adherent to it are ultimately deigned to be killed by it in the end, because they are chasing something that wants them dead too. But there's also this whole notion of policing, and this whole notion of pretense for invading these immigrant communities, and for doing this kind of sanctioned violence, and this notion of this this military detachment going out to do this policing, and that being what they do, I think is such a prescient line from PTA in the script here, as we are in a moment of seeing, you know, a lot of Democratic leaders say, "Oh, we need ICE to be better trained. We need to have
this version of ICE is the issue, of course."
Yes, but it's indeed that these apparatuses are functioning to do what they are designed to do. And I think that Lockjaw's character writing and the way that Penn performs that character indicates to us the truth at the center of this sort of violence.
Because he believes it. It's not only about the structure is designed that way, but also it's purpose for him. Like that is is like a God-given this must be done for the good of humanity, I guess. And I don't delve too deep into it, but the idea of purpose, I think, is very, very fascinating for that character and the rest of the Christmas adventurers.
He says that in the scene, one of his scenes in the church with Willa as well. I mean, when he is sort of going off on her and getting the closest to telling her about the Christmas adventurers thing and like why he is doing what he's doing, he rattles off, you know, he growls these lines about having purpose. And I wrote down the one that he kind of ends on, is that it is a higher honor than having you.
Yes.
Being a member of this club.
You didn't flex your neck muscles on
he gets his bottom teeth over his top in a way that I can't quite fathom. You gotta
also I mean this is basically gonna be a quote along sort of quest episode, because in that scene that
this movie a lot.
you started with, Abram, I just also laughed at the line where you know the store owner says, like, I think they grow weed. He's like, what is that, some kind of sick joke on God?
But he plays everything so seriously.
Yes.
And again, I think Aaron mentioned this. The comedy of this movie, that again to me is my biggest takeaway of it, is played very straight. Everyone is very serious about this. They believe in the stakes and they believe in their goals. But it's also really fucking funny, man.
I think it's funny because it's like, you know, in part it plays as absurd, right? Like these characters are crazy. They are out doing crazy stuff. You know, they're cartoonish, and yet that's what the world we live in is.
Yes.
And
this
so
is kind of my main thing about the movie.
The movie is.
Let me take a Bob Ferguson bong rip. And go,
it's
whoa,
like,
whoa, man.
Expand your mind to consider that these characters maybe aren't so out there after all. And I mean, I just think that about the kind of, you know, we have the Christmas adventures, and if I'm going to be honest, like that plays more into straight comedy for me. I mean, these guys, you know, they're evil, they represent something, but the more insipid evil that the film is kind of countering is just straight up the federal government, and it is not unclear about this. It uses all this kind of visual language that we've been built up to understand over the years, and I think it's really clever in how it does it because it PTA's writing gets to like skirt in and out of like it's the feds, it's the border patrol. He doesn't need to clarify because the dudes wear masks and have big guns and wear tactical boots, and I don't give a shit that it's NKU or ICE or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Like who cares?
It's like a fictional, or
it's fictional.
Maybe fictional. The MKU, is their
the mankind unit. As you don't even know, you have to read into the credits to see that that's what MKU stands for.
The
mankind unit.
Mankind.
Mankind unit.
Well, then that's MU.
I know, but these are military people, so you cannot expect them to make up good acronyms.
MU is a little bit better.
You need
Monsters
the
University.
You need a three-letter acronym.
There's another moment like this that I find so sharp. It's when Sensei Sergio's store is under siege by the military. And there's the one like teenage kid who's watching the shop, and
he's on his damn phone.
Yeah, he on his damn phone.
And they come to the door. They come to the door. It's all boarded up. It's all locked up. They're knocking on it. The kid runs upstairs, and then this like military freak is getting on the phone talking about how he's got to go kinetic. And I think that this film is so good at tapping into that sort of insane military lingo.
This like Fort Bragg type special operator, Delta Force kind of men.
Tier 1 operator.
Tier 1, this operator culture, which isn't is distilled into our society into these military wannabe types. And we get this later on at the 1776 compound with these just really outrageous looking operator characters who are like just the hired killers. Beyond the killing and maiming nature of the military. But I think that's maybe what my favorite kind of like twist on the skewer of this movie is that the military is ridiculous and believable at the same exact time.
I mean, just to put a bow on that, then, to that exact point, I think what's so arresting about this film, then, is that it is not trying to simply point and laugh, but also to indicate the violence that these people are capable of doing. I think of this whole like police agitator character they introduce that is played very straight as somebody who is just here to agitate and create this pretense for violence, as happens in the real world in these protest situations. And I think that the film is very good at saying, okay, yes, these guys are goofy and ridiculous, but as they are in the real world, they also wield this institutional power to
and they're all
oppress
screwy
and
in
kill
the head.
people.
Yes. As I said, this is the key thing about the movie for me, and why, again, I feel like it is I say the perfect movie for this political moment, but we are in our mid-20s.
Yeah.
And our elders who have been paying attention to the fascists that control our government for the better part of multiple decades might say that it's always been that way, and I think PTA have
that's
being
what I was
50,
going on
60
about
years
with
old too.
Is it past, present, or future? It doesn't really matter. However deep you look is wherever you want to place it.
He also provides this context. That, I mean, there's a 16-year time jump, and I mean, if we want to use, there is no time setting, no pin for this movie necessarily in terms of like real world events or anything like that. The closest it gets is, funnily enough, what I hinge my time setting theory for this film on is the usage of Mo Bamba and Shut Up and Dance at the high school dance.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Is the contemporary setting of this movie in 2017, 2018, like that time frame, which would mean that the first 30 minutes of this movie or whatever are set in like 2000. The Bush admin, basically. If you
they
want,
kind
if
of
to
feel like the
way.
80s, and I think that's why there's like this odd, is it past, present, or future, even though they're using like iPhones in the modern section. I get very strong like 80s crime thriller vibes from like that first chunk of the film.
Well, I think that I want to touch on here this because we've got to it, the opening scene, this freeing of the immigrant detention center. I think this is just a really, really great way to get us into the movie. I mean, we are immediately like the chessboard is set within seconds, basically, and we see where the pawns and the kings and the queens, and it's just like we get. Not only do we have what we've been talking about, this political thrust set up of the revolutionaries versus the immigrant hating feds. But then you also get Perfidia and Lockjaw's relationship, boom, right off the bat in this just truly wonderful, scene. It's so humiliating for Lockjaw, but is it humiliating? Does he like it? I mean, I don't know. It just goes into this amazing character of Lockjaw where man, what is going on inside that guy's head?
So this is also what I really admire about PTA's handling of this movie.
We're 5 minutes into the movie by this point.
5 minutes into the movie, you were looking at Sean Penn pitching a tent. Being held at gunpoint.
Major three-legged fella.
Exactly. I was gonna say, major swing, major statement from PTA to make that the opening sequence of the movie, basically. But different strokes for different folks, I suppose. My point though is, in our Sinners review, I said that when I in reference to the line that Delta Slim has about the blues not being forced on African Americans like Christianity was. I was like, that is a really lightning strike sort of talking point, sort of thematic idea that I'm really impressed and surprised to be seeing in a mainstream film. Yeah. I feel very similarly about the idea that is key to the Lockjaw Perfidia dynamic here, which is the psychosexual hatred / sexual attraction that there is between white nationalists and people of color. Is that all these freaks and their fucked up minds and in the military, online, on fucking 4chan or whatever, they all have this X the Everything app, unfortunately, is infiltrated by all these fuckers now, is this twisted thing they have in their heads where their hatred is intertwined with a fetishization of the very people that they seek to imprison and kill and hate dominate and everything. Yeah, and dominate. It is all mixed up in there, and that is the kind of the key thing about Lockjaw. And in this opening 30 minutes is that he is a white supremacist, white nationalist guy who is in charge of immigration crackdowns. But he also has obsession with being sexually dominated by a black leftist revolutionary woman.
It's just brilliant.
I must have missed that.
It's just brilliant.
Oh, sure. Sort of subtle.
Yeah. I think what a character. When do we see a character like this all that often?
No, but Tanner, I think you and I are poking at the same point with Lockjaw. And again, for me, how he kind of dominates my thoughts in the film is that is a very bold thing to have in a almost 3 hour long, highly produced Warner Brothers movie. And also it's because of that, it's a kind of scenario that I've never really seen a character wrestle with before. I understood that this was a concept that was out there, but watching Sean Penn's performance as he plays this line where he goes from being gruff and commanding to incredibly submissive, but not wanting to show that on his face, but you can fucking see it in his eyes. This turns him on and he loves it. That is it's obviously very sexual and very bold because of that, but the challenge for Sean Penn's performance to maintain this level of focus on he is someone who has this racist desire to cleanse or whatever, insert litany
get rid of the haters and the punk trash. We all know what the deal is.
Quote along.
Yeah. But also he has this submissive side to him. I mean, one of my favorite funny lines in the movie.
I mean, sure he does. Why does he sign up for Christmas Adventures?
Well, yes, and then
I submit.
What does he say?
I submit
into
submit.
When he's accepted into the Christmas Adventures. Oh, mommy.
Yeah.
Yes, he does.
Yes,
he does.
Moment I lost my shit. I love that line. Mommy. Oh, mommy. Oh.
I think this is such a great. This is such a great point you're raising, Tucker, and I think it's actually a good opportunity to talk about Teyana Taylor as Perfidia Beverly Hills, because what we have is this interesting dynamic between the two. Because another line that really stuck out to me in this rewatch is after Perfidia has been arrested and Lockjaw has come to her and is making this case that I can get you out of here, I can get you into a witness protection program. What he offers her is the embrace of the federal government.
I wrote that one down too.
Yes.
And I think that this is such an interesting dynamic we have here, because we have these two characters that have very different types of power over each other. On this interpersonal level, Perfidia has this immense psychological power over this man. But on the other side, he has this institutional resource that is so much greater in a material sense than what she has.
It's a shame you don't know anybody with sway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. And so I just think that the way that we draw attention to that difference in this opening section is really critical. But I think we ought to use this as a chance to talk about Teyana Taylor as Perfidia Beverly Hills.
Teyana Taylor gives a hands-down knockout incredible performance in just roughly about 30 minutes. The first 30 minutes of the movie, and she feels like a presence across the entire runtime that remains in the film. Which almost feels a little bit cliche to say now because it's kind of the thing that everybody says, but like to me it is undeniable. And we obviously bring her back in voiceover at the very end of the film, but like the whole impetus for the movie, this father-daughter relationship that we'll also talk about, is for the lack of Perfidia as a character, as a mother, as a wife.
Every character in this movie is obsessed with her and almost only her.
Exactly. I mean, to the degree that yes, that like Willa and Bob almost feel like she is a missing intermediary in their family dynamic, or like the nuns at Sisters of the Brave Beaver are like, oh yeah, she's a rat.
She's trouble.
She's trouble,
and then we don't need another one of her.
And you, Willa, are also troubled by that by
blood,
by nature of being her daughter. But no, I mean, like, she is so fascinating as a character, and Teyana Taylor does such a great job of imbuing her with these looks and this presence in this first 30 minutes that makes her feel like an indelible structural part of the film, which of course the character is, but it all comes through in the performance too. The importance of her, why everyone is so obsessed with her, like the complexities within her that we don't get to iron out, that we don't get to to figure out over the course of the movie, because she up and disappears and goes into hiding in Algeria or Cuba, one of the two, as they say. And like the vacuum that is sort of left in her presence, it all is tied up in the sort of the presence and the power and charisma that Taylor is able to imbue in that first 30 minutes.
Yes, well said. I think that I'll just add the chemistry between her and DiCaprio is very palpable. And it's this very fiery, short-lived romance, screen time wise. And I think that it sets up what we're going to be thinking about Leo for the rest of the movie and what we think about him as the father. I think seeing these as a couple together in the brief moments that they are, the way that they embrace each other, after the initial raid on the detention camp, and then we see, more and more as they, get bolder and bolder in their terroristic attacks. And well, I don't exactly know where I was going with this, but
I want to talk about the chemistry, because I think you're right, but I think it is well done in that I think it feels pretty one-sided, in that I think that she doesn't care as much about Bob specifically. I think she likes the idea of a guy who is on her side and can support her, but isn't bold enough to really do anything or say anything against her. And I think that those moments where they do have these like intense, like sexual, energetic moments, it feels like he's like, ooh, oh boy, like this is kind of like interesting, exciting. He doesn't know how to handle himself, and he's like excited by this, but he's too timid of a guy to do or say anything. So she just like envelops him. And so there is this chemistry that is a very real and very possible dynamic. But when we say chemistry in other movies, I think we mean like, oh man, they are great together. Yeah. They really play well off of one another. This is a very different version of that, where it's a chemistry that is hard to nail and a dynamic that is very rarely seen, I think, but one that I don't think actually signals chemistry between the people who are in the relationship. I think that they're actually quite separated, even when they are very well, like literally embraced or kissing or having sex or whatever, or on that bed with the baby between them. The looks in their eyes are so different. Like, I don't think they get each other at all.
I think this is such an interesting observation because I think I agree. I mean, one of the great early laughs in the movie is
Abram praise makes me happy. I don't know what to say.
One of the great early laughs in the movie is "Let's fuck while the bomb goes off" when they're blowing up the telephone tower.
The bomb's going off in 2 minutes.
Yeah, and you know, there's this sense, because I also love a similar moment when good old, we got to call him, this is the only opportunity to call him Pat Calhoun, the Rocket Man, Ghetto Pat.
Pat, yes.
We got Ghetto Pat showing how to do the shunt, where he's doing a little wiring.
Where your blast cap's gonna go.
Yeah.
And it's just then, sexy talk about explosives.
Yes, and then she comes and starts, sits on him, and then we go from there. But I think that and this feeds a lot into why I really love DiCaprio's performance and positioning in the movie as a guy who is increasingly useless as the movie transpires.
Definitely.
But to establish him, to Tucker's point, as somebody.
Does he do anything?
Certainly in the earlier section.
Of course. Section. No, I know, but I mean, especially in the main section, I'm like, I'm just realizing you said you're increasingly useless. I'm like, he's chasing around a lot. He's running a lot.
He is almost constantly rescued and comes in again. Yeah. Well,
and
we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that.
I don't want to shortchange Perfidia Beverly Hills here, because I think that Teyana Taylor has such an incredible presence on the screen, in part because the film is so braggadocious in this portion, and it allows her to live as this like mythic figure who is unafraid of hiding her face, who is in these beautifully composed and interestingly lit moments on payphones, making these proclamations, political proclamations, intercut with these banks blowing up and these campaign offices blowing up, and you really understand the power that she wields, and the power wielded by other members of the French 75, like Jungle Pussy, who is, by the way, a real person. That is really her music artist name. She's been Jungle Pussy for like 15 years at this point.
Yes.
And to see them at sort of the height of their confidence is incredible, because when we flip on a dime there and we kill the security officer in the botched bank robbery as Jungle Pussy is giving her proclamations, the way that Teyana Taylor wavers, I don't know. What is Jungle Pussy's real name? Who's the actress?
Oh, I saw it.
Hold on, I have it too.
Okay.
Hold on. Her real name?
Shayna McHale.
Thank you. Shayna McHale. The way that they both falter in that moment, and that facade slips, is a brilliant turn on a dime acting moment from both of them that I really love. And it sort of continues as they're both being hunted and cornered and arrested. I think that both of them give these incredible performances and are allowed to, by this screenplay, exhibit these sort of complete movements as characters in such a short period of time. I really, really love them. And I love that whole opening portion of the film.
Yeah. It's super, well, I'll say it again, super fun and entertaining to watch, but it's kicking on all the cylinders. That you talk about this botched, the botched bank robbery, which goes to where leads us into the second act of the movie, where we're with Bob and Willa. Do we have anything more on Perfidia, or do we want to go?
I have lots. I think there's a lot more to be said about her, because I think there's also some really complex stuff, as there was tied up in Lockjaw's characterization. Some really complicated political and psychosexual stuff tied up in Perfidia's characterization. That is a lot more. I don't know. I feel like there's some things going on here that I cannot speak to as definitively as I can with the freaks who run our government and what's going on in their brains, because there is an intertwining of sex and politics and revolution in Perfidia's mind as well. I feel that's pretty clear from the actions that we see her take, from the literal, like, her wanting to sleep with Bob as the bomb goes off, to a line that she has when she, that sort of iconic image of her being like fully having her pregnant belly out, while firing this giant machine gun. When she talks to Jungle Pussy as like, what is this pussy for? This is for war. The guns are fun. That is the fun. But like, she is intertwining like her femininity and her sexual presence with being a Black revolutionary, which is so interesting, especially as she comes from a line of Black female revolutionaries. Her mother and this other, her mother says that to Bob when she's like, she is a runner. She comes from a long line of people of me who do this same thing. You're a stump, which I think is kind of interesting in relation to the eventual split that these characters have, and how Perfidia exits the movie, goes, crosses that border into Mexico, and we don't ever see her again.
And Bob exits a stump. Much to think about. When he comes out
this
of
is actually true. This is actually
so
true.
This is very true. Does come out of the stump. God, that's so true.
But I agree, Ed, and I think that, again, another situation of a character that I haven't really seen before, because I do think that she also, again, in a flip coin sense of Lockjaw, gets her rocks off by dominating white guys. And I think she has this sort of power fantasy in her mind where, I mean, like, literally the first action we actually hear her do is tell this guy to get a boner up. And again, I think that she's genuinely turned on to it as well. Like, this is one of her kinks. This is like her sexual interest, and she goes back for more. She's using her power, but I think it's also something that she's interested in as well. And I think that that's, again, it's a great dynamic because it plays into this element that, while we talk about this movie being cartoonish and kind of like very on the nose, there are these like complex, humans are not one thing or the other element to each of these characters, where Lockjaw can be racist and like skilled in these ways, but submissive and into Black women in these ways, and Perfidia in the same way, like opposite, and Bob is, he has this capability for freedom in him, but he's also kind of a deadbeat. Like, these characters are cartoonish, but they're also textured, which I think definitely helps these performances feel very unique.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Abram.
Yeah, I mean, just the last thing I was going to say is I've been recently reading Ta-Nehisi Coates' Between the World and Me, which is I believe he published it in 2015. I mean, if we're going back to talking about politics as though it's the first Trump term, but this is what the film is doing a little bit as well. And I think that, and I'll invoke Coates again when it comes to Sensei Sergio.
Yes.
But I think just this notion of what's at stake for Perfidia that's not at stake for Pat is very critical. It's very critical. This domination over her body, in many senses of that is important, and she's fighting for things that Bob doesn't have to fight for and doesn't have to consider.
I mean, specifically, they mentioned bombing a campaign office because of the lack of support for abortion. Like, that's very clear. Yeah.
I just want to say, like, the whole thing that I talked about with this intertwining of revolutionary politics and sex, I come to it a lot more sympathetically with the Perfidia character, because then I asked the question of, like, okay, well, why is she acting in this way? What do we expect, or what does she feel is expected of her as a Black female revolutionary, that she is acting in these ways and perhaps performing in these ways and commanding her Bob around in these ways? What we see him roll up with, like, his Red Ryder wagon full of explosives or whatever, and she is the one that gives him instructions. And
he barely feels like a character in that scene. I always find that opening moment so interesting, because I'm like, who the fuck is this guy? Like, I can barely even tell that they, like, have met before, because he's just kind of like this wet blanket who rolls up. I'm like, I mean, I know he's a main character. I know that's Leonardo DiCaprio, but like he could be a side character in any other movie.
He is given directive from Perfidia in that moment. He is the one that is given an action to do. She is orchestrating this whole thing for him. And then again, if we want to maybe switch into talking about Bob, even though I think that Perfidia is such a rich character, though I think I just have like more like branching out thoughts than like specific takes on that. He's like Bob is almost a weird inversion of Lockshaw in relation to Perfidia, because after that first opening sequence when they're in the car together, she's asking him, "Do you like black girls? Do you like black girls?" And Bob says, "Of course I like black girls. Why else would I be here? Or what do you think I'm doing here?" Which I think is really very illuminating. It's sort of a line that is just sort of hidden in the cacophony of sounds that's going on here. But if you watch it with subtitles at home, like I did, it's like, oh, what does that mean? What does that mean specifically? Is there a fetishization going on with Bob as well? Though I think the film in PTA is softens. It has a lot more soft a view on Bob. Obviously, he's sort of the protagonist of the film as a guy who does, on some level, like actually love Perfidia and wants them to be a family, and he wants her to be a mother, as he says earlier, or as he says later.
Yeah, he laments later.
But he wants her to be a mother, and like, does that carry some weight with it too? He wants them to be a family. That's obviously seems a little bit more of a softer, more approachable sort of talking point from him, goal from him. But I don't know. Yeah. I just have these ideas about these characters that all spin out of the first 30 minutes. It's really driven by Perfidia's story.
Well, Perfidia gives us a really important clue for understanding Bob, which is this notion that, when she goes out, the last interaction they have before she goes out and is arrested is this sort of difference between her doing the revolution and her criticizing his ego, and his sort of interest in family. And I think that there is this interesting wrinkle to his character when he speaks about what he wanted Perfidia to be around for. Later in the film, when he's talking to Sergio, when they're driving out to Sisters of the Brave Beaver, and he's mentioning, I wanted her to be around to braid Charlene's hair, and to do girl stuff. Like there is a degree to which Bob is such an interestingly positioned character, because he's like anywhere from a half to 4 steps behind in yes. many different dimensions. And I think that he has like this very like in some ways to the point that both you and Tucker are making, these incongruous attitudes towards the world that in comparison to Perfidia. And I think that Bob is a character that, yes, we can root for, but I think he's also a character for us to examine the flaws of and really feel illuminated by understanding those flaws.
So should we talk some Bob?
Should we? Let's do it.
Let's talk Bob.
Well, Leo, to begin with, we praised his performance at the top, but does this role very well. Plays this completely stoned out deadbeat father, smoking weed in his car and then going into the parent-teacher conference and
Timo's role model.
Sure.
Yes. I am a drug and alcohol lover.
A drug and alcohol lover.
He smokes weed in the car.
He tries to fan it out.
And fans it out. And then he's just hitting the vape in the classroom anyway.
Yes.
Good stuff.
This when we talk about like what the revolution means and what you guys were saying about Perfidia and what it means to her, I think it is important to kind of see what that difference is, because as we've gone into here, for her, it is a lot about like these kind of personal freedoms and bodily autonomy and a lot more like centered on the individual. Bob, as we're shown when he goes into the parent-teacher office meeting and is examining the different presidents, is much more
Grand
like
Wizard right here.
Grand Wizard Benjamin Franklin. He's a lot more concerned with these kind of structural, maybe more like pop culture revolution ideas. Fucking slaveholders everywhere.
Yeah, you can't vape against slaveholders everywhere. That's so good too.
I think his his perspective on the revolution, I think, is fascinating because tell me if you disagree or not. To me, it feels almost performative, like that he plays up his passion for it in moments where it makes him seem like a more important person. Where he's like, "Oh, I'm a member of the French 75," but like whenever we see him not doing this, he's just like he seems like he couldn't give less of a shit, or he's really overwhelmed by it or confused by it. Even in these early chapters, again, I mentioned he walked up to this first scene. I don't buy him as a revolutionary. I think he's like almost there to get like brownie points. Like he's like, oh, like I want to be seen as someone who does this. But I do think that whatever path it takes, I think he does believe in the causes that he's fighting for. I'm not saying that, but the way that Leo plays this performance of a guy who like turns on his revolutionary side. It's not like ingrained in him. He like shouts it and then he retreats back into himself. But the real Bob Ferguson, the real Pat Calhoun, is this guy who's like just kind of like overwhelmed by everything.
Yeah, I mean, it gets into the. I think it was Abram who said it earlier. Is like the stakes of the revolution for him versus for the other characters, particularly the characters of color, people of color that we see, the women that we see. Like it is just like inherently different for him, and I think there is even some texture to what you're talking about, Tucker, of like. You think of the scenes where he is the most animated, like the one we're joking about. And again, all of the things that we are saying are hedged in. PTA can write a really funny movie with all of these ideas still in it. The scene that we're talking about in the classroom, like he's confronting like a high school teacher on whether or not she teaches about Teddy Roosevelt's presence in the Philippines.
The right way. He's like doing the "Which American are you" from Civil War, but it's like in the completely inverted and like and then the teacher goes on to be like, your daughter's great. And that is the thing that like gets to him. I mean, I think because we're like, what is he fighting for? Well, in the beginning, I think in the first 30 minutes, it's a little tricky. Like, as you say, there's psychosexual reasons and maybe there's just the pure ideological reasons. But then after we time skip and Willa's 16, it's like, I mean, it's pretty clear what he's fighting for at that point. And it only becomes, necessary for him to fight when danger comes knocking. And so that element of like his reasoning for being like back in the action, so to speak, even though, as we say, he's not a very active player, comes on very strong. And to me is like, well, yes, this is yet another fold in this very interesting character. This father who really cares deeply about fatherhood and being there and like, trying and being unable to.
He cares at an ideological level.
Yes.
He does not execute on these.
Yes, the intentions and the outcomes are misaligned.
He's many things. That's why I like this character, because I don't think you can pin him down so singularly. And I think that there are moments where in him being re-energized, you see a spark in him. I think that there's moments when you see him as someone who is in some ways reliving his glory days. I love him slobbing out on the couch, smoking out of the forceps, watching Battle of Algiers.
Yeah.
One of the greatest movies ever.
Certainly.
It's the Sheck West into Battle of Algiers like almost killed me the first time I watched the movie. I'm like, holy fuck, look at these touchstones.
PTA knows what's up.
But because there's another line that really grabbed me on this watch. So I did Mr. Beast for a second. There's this line that really grabbed me for a second where he's in the car with Sergio. And he goes, because he finds out that Willa has a phone. And Sergio goes, does that make you mad? And he says, I don't get mad about anything anymore.
And I'm like, bro, that is all you've been doing for the last 25 minutes of this movie is getting mad about stuff.
But I think that's so interesting because it's like, okay, what do we mean when we say that Bob Ferguson, not Ghetto Pat, not the Rocket Man, not Pat Calhoun,
right?
Bob Ferguson, what does it mean when he says he doesn't get mad about anything anymore? I think that there is this really interesting idea, and this is what
it means that just he hasn't really felt anything for like 20 years.
I mean, part of my idea about the film broadly, part of why I think it is so interesting is there's this notion of intergenerational fighting and failure. and being on the offense, on the defense. We'll talk
battle
about this more
is intergenerational trauma.
But the closing moment between him and Willa that ends the movie, I think, is so interesting.
Yeah.
Because Willa is going out to Oakland to participate in some kind of collective action. And Bob's takeaway is like, that's a long drive, right? That's a long drive. I think that there's this notion of him only being able to take this cause so far.
Yes.
And we're seeing him.
Yes, I think this is a really great point.
We see him when he is active in that fight, and then when we see him when that fight has gone past him.
Yeah.
And I think that understanding these different modes of Bob is really critical to understanding what that character is supposed to be doing in the movie.
Yeah.
For me, what you're saying, Abram, is that almost that the revolution and this fighting and the community action in some ways is a young person's game, and that, well, either he knocked himself out of it and then just numbed his senses to wit's end in response to not being a part of it, or he's just not really able to keep up with it anymore. And I really like that ending moment there because of this passing the torch kind of idea. And I think that's complicated with Sensei because he presents a little bit of a different angle to what revolution is, and that is yet another big giant track that this movie takes down thematically. But I agree completely that Bob, in losing it and in, all the different ways that we're shown comedically that he's not really with the program anymore, and only really gets in by virtue of being like the old head elder who is, Unk needs to be brought back in for one last ride, and they let him in because his friend, they know, there's a question that there's an answer that does stick in his mind.
Mexican hairless.
Yes.
Oh,
so
yeah.
Go ahead, Tucker.
Yeah, I want to, maybe I'm getting a little cyclical at this point, but again, I never really seen a character in the situation that Bob Ferguson is in, and I think that, like, if my interest and excitement from the performance of Sean Penn and the Christmas Adventures Society and all this stuff, I'm like, okay, that's really fascinating. Next step down for me is this fucking stoned out ex-revolutionary guy. Like, I never seen that before in a movie or a story, and it's such an interesting way to parody the elements of revolution and of the passion that people have and the performative nature of revolution to certain people. And watching this guy try and frankly fail, as we said, he's ostensibly useless for the second most of the movie. Try and fail to recapture an energy that he lost multiple decades ago is this really interesting, challenging character, because it does show that he has this spark, as you're mentioning, that he has lost, and he's trying to recapture it, but it never feels like he certainly never grabs it. I mean, in a movie where this was more of a redemption story for him, where he does regain that spark, which you can easily imagine that movie. Yeah. And frankly, I think I might have seen that movie before.
Liam Neeson and Sylvester Stallone make 3 of those a year.
That's really true, man. That would be that sort of more common movie. But again, the point this movie ends on, he's just kind of laying there on a couch again. And like, and he speaks in bravado about the fact that he was French 75 and that he, you don't remember what I did for you. Like, and I contributed to these things. He does that to get his daughter back. That's the one thing you can certainly say about it. If you're going to pin down one thing, is he does care about Will. And that is his goal, is to make sure that what is remaining of his family is still there. But I don't actually think it goes past that for the current Bob Ferguson that we know. I think that he is doing this performance to achieve his goal of maintaining his family, but not for anything other than that. And the fact that I think it's proven by the fact that he does not go with her at the end, that he doesn't even really suggest to her that this is something that she should do. He tries to hold her back a little bit from going and being a revolutionary. He doesn't try that hard, which is of course the Bob Ferguson way. But I think that, again, that it's interesting and unique that he doesn't ever become actually a revolutionary again. I don't think he's particularly concerned or knowledgeable about what is happening outside of his home and outside of his very small bubble that he exists in, because he exists in a place where a lot of revolution and revolutionary action could be taken. But
he's not
literally
the
down the block. He just doesn't.
Yeah. He adopts, I mean, that witness protection kind of mindset of closing off and going into this very reclusive set. I mean, we've barely talked about like the filmmaking elements so far, but I just love this house that Bob lives in. The interior, the exterior, this kind of California redwoodsy, piney woods. I mean, I like that this is almost the landscape and the setting of this movie is like total California variedness. We can shoot a lot of different, it's very vague generally about like where stuff is happening. It's all made up and fake. But
El Paso? Or there's something happens in El Paso.
They're in Backtown Cross. You go to, it's Backtown Cross is in El Paso?
No. Backtown Cross is in Northern California.
It's in Northern California.
The whole movie takes place in Northern California.
Yes.
Something happens in El Paso. They mention El
Paso, but it's irrelevant. But I do
so that's where Lockjaw was.
Yeah, he did some great work in El Paso.
That's what it was.
Yeah, we can only assume what that was.
Yeah, I think that work might not have been so great.
I don't think so either.
But back on to Bob. Yes.
Did you have more to say about Bob, Timo? We derailed into bits.
I think not. I think I'll come to it here. Yes.
Okay, fair enough. I do want to hit on this moment where Bob gets an iPhone at the end, because I think it is a little telling, because the whole thing, he is very insulated, as we've been saying, in his fatherly relationship with Willa, is in that I think his role, his idea of being a dad, being like woke dad, is really interesting because he wants to like be respectful of Willow's friends' pronouns and everything like that, but he's still kind of aggro about them. He's like, well, they're rolling up in a red car. It's a little loud, don't you think? And knocking on his door too loud or whatever. Like Leo is really good at selling like I am just paranoid. Like I'm not angry at the kids. I'm not angry at them being non-binary or whatever. Like we're not playing into those cliches or anything. He is just so paranoid about the safety of his daughter in the face of the world as he knows it, the world that he's seen grow more and more fascist over 15, 16 years. And also the idea that they are in the witness protection program and that, yes, at some point, Lockjaw might come back into their lives. He doesn't know in what capacity that is. That becomes clear to him, obviously. But there's just a paranoia that drives his entire character to the point of, he doesn't keep his 1G capable phone charged even. They don't even scan those waves, those towers anymore, but he doesn't keep it charged anyway, which is of course a source of comedy in sort of the second act runaround of the film. But he does get this iPhone at the end. Because who else do we see that has an iPhone? Sensei Sergio, who becomes a sort of like torchbearer for him, his savior in the back half of the film. Just like uses an iPhone and uses it to communicate to people and uses it to coordinate plans and everything like that. He is an active.
Siri, route us to the Sisters of the Beaver. Oh, my phone started. No, go away.
Oh, get a phone call.
No. It's Siri woke up.
Oh, I see.
Oh.
I see.
Evil iPhone.
Yeah, they're scanning those 5G bands on you. They're scanning those.
Yeah. They're geofencing you right now.
I got way more than 5Gs, Tanner.
Whoa, okay, all right. Hey, Mr. Braggadocio over here.
So money spread on a quest for the bestest.
Exactly. So I love this whole aspect of his character. I do want to talk about Sensei Sergio. It's who I kind of feel that we'll be talking about next. Sergio or Willa, I feel, is sort of our next stop. But also, I just need to pay a little bit of lip service to his beef with Comrade Josh, which is some of the funniest stuff in the entire movie of him trying to like pull rank on this guy and doing the back and forth of the passwords or whatever, which lends itself directly to how slow and bureaucratic and ineffective the French 75 have gotten in the decade and a half since we saw them last. That they are obsessed with rank and password and reading the texts. I love maybe you should have read the revolutionary text a little harder, is something that Comrade Josh says. And we only ever get past all of that after Bob, of course, pulls a Greyhawk 10 and talks to his friend. Like I love all that stuff, and I think it lends itself to the ineffectiveness of the French 75 and how what Sensei Sergio is doing is far more effective because they are under the direct gun of the U.S. government.
I think that I mentioned it's my favorite DiCaprio performance ever, and part of the reason I feel that way is because he is both incredibly urgent and extremely beleaguered, at every moment. The physical performance is so good. The way that he's always on the verge of tears while he's talking to Comrade Josh,
very emotional.
He can swing from this depth of despair to this extreme anger, and it all feels so comical.
You never know if he's going to start crying on the phone or if he's going to scream into the receiver. He does kind of both.
There's a third emotion in there though, which is pride and excitement when he gets one over on Comrade Josh, and he looks up from the phone. He looks at Sensei Sergio, he's like, I got him.
I got one over on the shitty customer service agent I've been on hold with for 15 minutes.
There's this proud dad of I did something, but what you did is
meaningless.
You've just kind of a dickhead, and it doesn't matter.
Well, he's a dickhead to another guy that's basically his age somewhere across the country or whatever.
Yeah. I love that guy's not young. Oh my god, I love that guy's not young.
Because I also just because it's so much in the delivery, but I also think it's in the physical performance. I think about him running into the dojo with his bathrobe open and in the back room throwing nunchucks looking for a gun,
and
then Army crawling across it. Yeah, Army crawling across a tatami mat and hiding under the sill of the window. DiCaprio is asked to move a lot.
Yes.
We sometimes talk about a performance where an older movie star is granted the privilege of having to move as little as possible.
Certainly.
And this is a great antithesis to that. This guy who is still really giving a full-bodied performance, and I really, really enjoy that. But I would like to pivot into Sergio here.
Sorry, just one more thing on a funny thing, and then a scene that I really like that he is key to. That also is a tether between him and the actions, the system set in place by Sensei Sergio. Is when he's captured. First of all, great physical acting on him, when he falls through that tree and he's limping along, and then when he fucking gets tased. Incredible physicality from Leo acting. Yeah, exactly. Just going stiff as a board. He's captured, and they're asking him his name. I just love how he says, "What's your last name?" Batman. But also,
he plays that. That moment I think is pretty key in understanding that he's lost beyond just not knowing where he is, what's going on, but who he is when he was born. The old Wait,
hold on. Let me get that Pat Allen up.
I think I interpret that moment differently than you, Timo. He's pretty clearly fucking with the police officers in that moment.
I think he could be, but I think it could be either way. I mean, we see the other French 75 members have maybe been trained to do this. They do it. We see it. But the way that he's just I can't tell if he's
so emotionally
over.
Sure.
If he's so beset by emotion and he's basically bawling and either.
I don't think Bob Ferguson has it in him to be conniving.
Well, he's not conniving though. I don't think that's what it is. I think it is
trying to trick.
He's not trying to trick them. I think what he's doing is a thing that we unfortunately see happen a lot in the modern day and age, which is it's a very early protest 101 thing. Is that don't give your fucking personal information to the cops. Fuck those guys.
Yeah.
Just give them fake names, give them a fake address, give them fake whatever. I think that is what he's doing. He's I'm not going to give you my name. I think it's emotional also because in that moment he thinks that he's fucked. He's going to be in jail. He's going to be, they're going to find out who he is and he's never going to see Willa again.
Yeah. But who comes to his rescue?
Sensei Sergio.
Sergio. Sensei Sergio.
But there's one more moment in there that I love, and I think this might be my favorite moment of his performance. Is when this woman is guiding him along and he
slow recognition
looks up and he's so dejected and he's yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Like he there's this moment of just like, I don't know what fucking emotion that is, but he's just like feeling so
the
much
nurses
shit.
so much. I think that is one of the best scenes in the entire movie. Is these nurses who are, obviously in with like the immigrant community and Sensei Sergio helping him get out. Just being very soft and direct with him, being like, "Okay, the bathroom door is open. I'm gonna pull this thing out, and you're going to leave through that door right now." And like
he's like, now?
They treat him
He's
like a fucking child.
I'm going to do it now? And she's like, yes, you're going to do it now.
If you're a bad hombre, you got to take your insulin.
Bad hombre takes insulin.
Yeah.
So Sergio, I think to me is like the heart of the whole movie.
Yes.
Tucker was saying earlier that Sean Penn is his favorite supporting actor performance of the year. For me, it's Del Toro as
agree with that guy.
Say Sergio. Whoa. And so there's a line here that I felt was so essential, and this is where I invoke Ta-Nehisi Coates again. There's this great podcast he did with Ezra Klein where they're debating how the left can win again. It's an insane podcast. And there's this notion that Coates has that is expressed through Sergio that sometimes you win and sometimes you lose, and it is these ideas that you're fighting for that persist. And there's this moment that Sergio says to Bob, he goes, "We've been laid siege for hundreds of years.
Selfish.
Don't get a big head about yourself.
Yeah.
Don't get selfish." That's what it is. And this is so critical for these differing perspectives that I think the film is so good at dialing into. We have this character in Bob, as we've been talking about, who is very concerned with his life and his family. And then we have this character in Sensei Sergio who says, sometimes we're on offense, sometimes we're on defense. Let's play offense, let's play defense. To him, this is not the same, this is not the same it's not the same moment of urgency that it is for Bob, because he has built this framework that he is part of, but it's a fight that is larger than him. Again, to invoke Coates. And there's this thing he's created that is resilient beyond him, and he is a part of it, but the fight will continue before him and after him. And I think that he is this very clear ideological center for the movie, in a movie full of characters who are in various ways selfish or in various ways complicated. He is not. He has a very clear, actionable ideology that we see in practice and we see unfold in just this beautiful way. I think that the craft of this is amazing, but I'm curious what you guys think of Sergio.
I love this character a lot. I agree with you that Benicio del Toro really comes in as my favorite side character among many greats in this. Performance, just like really embodies this community leader figure, right? And that the prescription that Dr. Sergio Sensei St. Carlos gives to us is to be there for your community and be prepared with your community, the community, like for and by the people that need it. And he says very plainly to Bob, he says, "I'm running a little Latino Harriet Tubman situation here." And it's like, what else is it? Right. I mean, that's literally what he's doing.
But he's so like, straightforward and chill about everything. That's what's so awesome about his character. And
he's so straightforward. He's so chill. And you know what? Proper planning prevents his poor performance. And this is what his character is pretty much all about. We don't see any of the planning. We just see the effects of it. And him being able to pull all kinds of strings and levers in his community because he's a teacher. He's, think about what the martial arts, we don't even really get to see what he actually espouses as a teacher, but other than being like, remember to breathe, which can be a very grounding. I mean, just think about it. When the ocean waves, just breathe. Like, allow yourself to not be swept up in the emotional fervor of the moment. Maybe it's the brigade of street rioters, protesters, whatever, with the agitators in them, to take that step to breathe and then do what's right, and do what's right by your community and by your loved ones, and to use that like interpersonal, immediate surrounding network to be helpful and to be better to the people who need it more than the Fed. Of course, the feds here are so comically evil. But what are they doing in this scene? Well, they've been doing what they,
Yeah,
you know,
that's
this is
what
what
we
they
do.
do. You know, the ice and Bortak, and this is what they do. And you know, when they got to go kinetic, they got to rip the metal grate off the
Send
thing,
in Eddie Van Halen.
and yet, uh, send in Eddie Van Halen. But Sensei is like, we have 20 minutes, and he knows he's thought this through. He's prepared. So I just love this vision of a community organizer as a character who is not perfect. You know, he's no Moses either. He likes
certainly
to drive
does.
drunk.
Oh
He
boy,
seems
does
to
he
do
love
this
driving drunk.
many different times. Like, so yeah, lots. I think more to be said about him, but very a very positive influence on the film, and pretty much for me uncritically. I'm like, you know, yes, he does drive drunk, but the movie also makes it look awesome. So who am I to
This is the
critique
one
that,
time
right?
that depiction does equal endorsement, I feel.
There's this quality to the whole movie that I really like. There's this quality to it that these are characters. Like, yeah, we're talking about the richness. We're talking about the political prescience to all of this. But Sensei Sergio is also just a fun character. And I love the logic with which the film operates, particularly in this section. So one sequence that I absolutely adore is after he's handed the rifle to Bob. And Bob, obviously, yes, we get the bow, but we get the Viva la Revolucion. But then we turn around and we see Sensei Sergio halfway down the trap door, throw up the fist, trap door closes, carpet unrolls behind it.
Exactly.
And a trailer with that shot, you know?
Or the way that he has this detachment of awesome skateboarder dudes in the town who they leap across the roof like the Ninja Turtles, and they're hanging off the side of the car, and the detachment splitting off. There is this real almost fantastical quality to how the movie is composed, and I think that this also to me speaks to the soundtrack that is very present. It's at the front of the movie, and I think it gives me this feeling that the film is not just this, as we've been describing it, very bullseye indictment and celebration of different aspects of our current political culture, but also this world, this filmmaking world that has very particular rhythms. And this is a film that is so interested in rhythms and characters and just little quirks and notes that make it all stick in your mind. Freedom is no fear, like Tom fucking Cruise.
Fucking Cruise.
Yanks the wheel and pushes it out the window.
Of course, ironically, the most indelible lasting line that will come from the cultural moment that is one battle after another, a few small beers. Like, I feel like that is... I had a few. A few what? Like, I feel like that is the line. It belongs to Benicio Del Toro, and he kills it, of course. But the thing that you're saying, I think, is a great point, Abram, about how, yes, it has all of these points, but on top of it is this character piece. Which is why, again, I go back to my thing of like, it is, I mean, I've never read a Thomas Pynchon novel. I am quite curious to, after watching Inherent Vice a few months ago, and now watching and rewatching One Battle After Another. So I'm only familiar with his works through the lens of Paul Thomas Anderson interpreting them. But it is a very similar thing of like, he is making incisive political points, but he's also like, here's a guy who's never existed before. And PTA is like, what if we got, I don't know, one of the best actors ever to like characterize and imbue this guy with so much life and energy that it's so incredibly memorable.
What if we got like 4 of them to be in the same movie?
It happens, like half dozen times in Inherent Vice, and it happens half a dozen times here. I think it is what is so successful about the screenplay and PTA's direction.
Yeah.
And the casting of this, of course.
Oh, well, yeah. But to Abram's point about the score, I found myself thinking quite a bit about it as I was watching the movie a second time. Because it's primarily piano. And
bing, 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 bing.
Now let's recall another soundbite from this movie that I think that it's mimicking, which is like the beeping of like a car
door.
When it's
yes,
the car door is slightly ajar. I think that's funny, very funny. But I found myself thinking about it because I associate a straight piano score with like silent comedy,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
As you think to like a Harold Lloyd or a Buster Keaton movie or something, that's going to have just like a tinkling piano score and a little rev up a little bit. And we don't get like a piano score really happen much anymore. Of course, there are other elements in this one, but I think the most iconic and impactful moments are just straight piano, like nothing behind it. And I like that the piano aims right. It has this rhythm to it, but it doesn't feel regimented because it like stumbles.
Mm-hmm.
You get the bunk, 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 and that's like the sloppiness that ultimately most of the characters in this movie well, I mean primarily Bob, but like this is not a professional, like the characters are not professional. This is not like locked and loaded. Of course that like on the on Lockjaw's side that's more true, but even he is not 100% locked in at all times. He does have these moments where he breaks his rhythm. And I like that the movie mimics that with this piano score that breaks its own rhythm in moments.
Yeah. Should we talk about Willa?
Right with fire on the fucking beach.
Should we talk about Willa? Because obviously she becomes very important in the third act of the film. The third act is hers. She is the one who effectively saves herself, by some like coincidence and things that happen. There's like the Native American character who works with Lockjaw. Thank you. Who has his conscience take over and decides that he's not going to allow these white nationalist militia guys that he transported her to kill her, or at least he's going to try and stop them by getting in a shootout with them. But like her whole thing of being chased down by Tim, the Christmas adventure, is all her. Like her in this fucking Dodge Challenger racing down the road,
badass scene.
Yeah, dude. And Chase Infiniti fucking puts this thing on her shoulders in these final moments, in these concluding like 30 minutes or whatever, and she kills it. She's awesome. And I mean, just like totally grabs you after all is said and done. When Tim stumbles out of the car wreck and she says the Beverly Hillbilly. What are the three again? We talked about this before.
Beverly Hillbillies, Green Acres, and Hooterville Junction. That's right. This
sort of like code
it's not Beverly Hillbillies.
Bob.
Oh no, I'm sorry. I was thinking Hillbilly.
Yeah, exactly. Not that.
Not that.
But she smokes. She fucking smokes Tim. Kills that guy dead. But then Bob rolls up and she does the same thing. She doesn't know which way is up. She doesn't know anything that has been happening. Her whole worldview about her parentage and her mom and everything that her parents, Bob and Perfidia, were involved in is completely turned upside down. And so that moment where she like yells at Bob, "Who are you?" It feels totally believable. And Infiniti is so good at selling that, especially for, again, this cannot be overstated enough, I feel, her first film role. Like she's been in TV series before, so it's not her first acting credit, but like her first film role.
But TV's not real acting.
TV's not real acting. No, her first film role is a fucking $130 million Paul Thomas Anderson action thriller vehicle.
Yeah.
And she's on the poster.
She's on the poster. She is sometimes the main figure of the poster.
True.
Sorry, Tucker, you ahead.
I like the role that she plays in this movie. Because you mentioned that she has like learned that everything about her parentage that she thought isn't true. But I also think it's the exact opposite of that as well. Is that she actually learned that what she's been told about her parentage is true, and she never believed it because her fucking stonehead dad, who just like taught her a bunch of stuff and like overprotected her, actually was telling the truth. And like watching her sort of like come to terms with that, I think is really, really fascinating. And she's thrown into this world, but she has been prepared for it.
Yes.
In some way. What?
Proper planning prevents piss poor performance, bro. Don't ever forget it.
Yeah, I love but that, I just think it's an interesting role that her character serves in that she has to come to multiple realizations about what the truth is. And at first it is that her father wasn't bullshitting her. Because I think you see that in the early parts of that performance, which are very slight. Because she's not really in too much like the first half of this movie. But that she's like, okay, Dad, I'll take the fucking thing, and like, like no one's coming after you, Bob. Like calling him Bob instead of Dad. Like I think she has this sort of like lack of respect. You're over exaggerating. None of this is true. You're a fucking crackhead. Like she doesn't believe any of this shit. And then so watching her just be like, she has to like lock in and be like, oh, okay, all right, okay. He was telling the truth. How do I deal with this now? I'm trained with like I've been regimented to know some of these phrases and how to interact in some of these situations, and obviously she's trained in some sort of martial arts. I think that the character is very fascinating in that way. I do wish that we got more of her earlier on. I think one of my biggest personal criticisms with this movie is that on the Bob and Willa dynamic, we get so much Bob and we get so much of him and his desire to get back to her, and we see him as a father when she's a baby and how much he cares and running away and protecting her and all this kind of stuff, and even the scene in the classroom when he's like crying because his daughter's doing well. We get so much of that. We get so little of who she is that I feel there's a little bit of disconnect between me and fully believing in their father-daughter dynamic, even if which of course this is actually how it is, that there's a wedge between them and that they aren't close. I would have wanted to spend a little bit more time with that wedge being driven between them. Another home scene earlier on, something of her talking to her friends about her dad in a little bit more of an extended sequence. Because it's established and it's there, but that's such an interesting part of the film, and it's ultimately the heart, the desire for this father to get back to his daughter. I would have wanted a little bit more characterization out of her before she's thrown into the shit, because everything else is very much what she's not related to, not interested in. That status quo, I don't think is perfectly established for me in specifically the Willa situation.
Yeah,
for me,
I see it. Yeah, go ahead, Timo.
Well, I feel like my read on her character and my like my like of her character is based in her competency in this like forged by the fire kind of moment in which we don't quite know. I mean, I think towards the end of the movie they hit us with this line that some people choose to do battle and others are born into it. This is, she's the one who's born into the battle. She doesn't get to have a choice about, knowing how to use a gun, needing to kill people, going on the run. And so we see who she is in this formative moment, and that beforehand she's a kid, and after she's an adult, and that is shown, I think, between these two like going out the house moments with the friends coming for the dance, and Bob is all protective and whatnot, treats her like a child. And then when in the final scene when she's gonna go to Oakland, and he's like, "Be careful," and she says, "I won't." That is that is a very fundamentally shifted relationship between the two of them, and so I like to see this like. Yes, like you talk about all the new things that she learns, the reformation of her identity, basically of who her ancestors are, what is she made of, and then she gets that recontextualized again when Lockjaw shows up, and what is she made of? Is she made of him? Is the fight that's in her this evil, this thing that she despises? Is there a way to see him as the father, even though it's. I still think the film makes it kind of inconceivable that he could be. Although it shows us yes, but maybe I don't know. I cast a lot of doubt on and unimportance ultimately on the fact of like who's the real father, because as we're proven later on, it's like Bob is because he was there, and that is and he was maybe less than there in the later years, but as maybe in an earlier part of being a parent really was, and that well she turned out all right. She turned out to be a pretty all right person when it comes down to it. Having already at the tender age of 16 already killed a man.
True.
Yeah. I like this notion that you have, Timo, of being born into the fight, because I think that part of the reason that the film doesn't really linger on a status quo is that the movie, yes, Chase Infiniti is quite key to it, and yes, she's excellent, but the film is much bigger than them. And I think as we've been talking about, there's even an argument that Bob's singular focus on Willa is not in alignment with the ideological goals and motives of the other characters in the movie. I think this film is very concerned with the world, the larger world that Willa is born into. Willa is born into a world where the status quo is Lockjaw after them and all of these things. And I think that we have to reckon with this idea directly because Regina Hall as Deandra is another incredible performance, I think. And Deandra is making a plea to one of like the second in command under Lockjaw, talking about how,
Davenport.
Just let just let her go. Yes, Davenport. Just let Willa go. She's innocent in all this. But the film is exploring a world where by being born, she is under siege by all of these forces. So for me,
other people are under siege by virtue of their birth in this movie,
Yeah, I think to me, I think she's deployed in a way that's a little bit sparing at times because functionally, I think there's an importance to that. But I also just find her to be so powerful on screen, the way that she's able to push back against Sean Penn.
Yes.
Both in their literal physical scuffles, but just in their trading of barbs.
Yeah, exactly. She's
why is your shirt?
She's
so
a teenager,
tight?
She's a teenager, and she can, as John Mulaney famously remarked all those years ago in a Fateful Comedy special, they somehow know the thing that you're most insecure about, like your tight shirt that you think make you look a little gay, maybe. Which is
I'm not a homosexual.
I'm not gay, if that's what you mean.
He hits every syllable in homosexual.
It's not just the shirt either. She hits the lifts in the shoes too. She hits the lifts in his shoes.
She clocks him,
good,
so to speak.
Yeah, she clocks his tea, I think, is what the kids might say nowadays.
Can we talk a little bit about the chase?
Grandpa,
as we're wrapping up a little bit about the chase.
Here's my dealio about the chase.
We just did.
We did a little bit.
Yes.
True. The chase Infiniti.
There's only one chase in my mind.
This one's just for Tucker. The Felix and Infiniti, the chase.
Holy shit, man!
That one really is
about
just
Keep going. Keep going.
Okay, we recall, right, that this movie was not shot digitally. It was shot on VistaVision, right?
On VistaVision, yes.
VistaVision. They made a big deal about this. So normal film, right, runs. I have a tape measure here. It might be useful. Normal film runs like down, right? Down through the sensor area, which is right here. VistaVision does it the other way, so it runs side to side to get a bigger image. Now imagine what that does to the shape of the camera unit as a whole. And now imagine you have to put that on a crane arm, and then you have to drive at 70 miles an hour with it about 6 inches off the surface of the road. That is what they had to do to shoot this scene. This is like, for me, I think we think about a legendary car chase scene. I'm thinking about French Connection. I live kind of under where they shot that. So I'm walking around these poles and thinking about what if you crashed into this stuff all the time.
Yeah,
that scene is so like close, right? We feel like the intimacy of the action, and yet this one takes a car chase and splits them apart. They're like really far away, and it's this cat and mouse, see you, don't see you, up and down, very like rhythmic, and yet this kind of intimate understanding of like the road and the logistics, and like that you are this. We could make it.
Let me tell you logistics.
It's a straight line that goes, it's a wave. It goes up and down.
Ocean waves, Bob. Ocean waves.
True. It
How do you know?
Well, because he knows all. He's sensei. The effect of like watching the scene is incredible on me. I mean, it's just really, really energetic and incredibly shot. We get all these shot, edited. Anytime we're in a chase sequence like this, the fact that it makes sense is an accomplishment because you could just as easily shoot the shit out of the scene and then not make it make any sense in editing. And we get to see Willa's intelligence at the end. I mean, I think that this, we build up that we disappear and we can reappear on these hills for so long. The chase scene is long, but by the end of it, I think that I'm like completely wowed. I just really love this. It's a technical feat. It's a script writing feat to get it in there. It's a location scouting feat to have found this place. All of the above.
It does a lot of things. Like this is like a stunt on him type of scene, I think, because it does a couple of things that I think are incredible. One is that it lulls you as, I believe Alex is the name of the hitman.
Tim.
It doesn't matter. The hitman, Tim. Thank you.
Tim. Yeah.
Tim. As we're riding over the highway, we linger in that status quo to where we start to understand how Tim is not even thinking about what's on the other side of the crest of that hill. They are both just gunning it down this road. So I think that, and as you're saying, Timo, the way we edit this to see all of the necessary perspectives is incredible. But then I think the real reason this works so well is that there are moments of car chases earlier in the film where we are establishing some of the camera moves that become critical in that scene. I think that's where the craft of this becomes excellent. Even just like when Avante Q takes the billy goat away, the place we put the camera behind the car is a type of shot we deploy again in the highway scene. So the to me, it's just like unimpeachable craft, the way we get the audience member to understand how this is going to go down.
Okay. I have two things that I just want to do a brief symposium on, if I can, and then I'll open it up to anyone who also has things that they love about the movie that they just want to address. But I want to say before we close out, Jim Downey, we hit a lot of the big actors in the movie. There are just as many bit players and small characters that are amazing in this. The one I want to shout out is Jim Downey, who is like the guy that's with the older guy that's always with the Christmas Adventurers like trio.
Right.
There's
he's not the old one who's like, I want to eat off the floor.
No.
The next older.
He's the guy that's kind of present in a couple of scenes, particularly he's the one that he is the one that says a semen demon. He's that guy. I think he fucking sells the shit out of every single line that he has, like the semen demon line, like the later in that sequence when they're bringing Lockjaw to his office / gas chamber, and he just goes, "Oh shoot, I must have forgotten the keys. I'll be right back. Don't go ahead, sit down, explore the space a little bit." Oh, I fucking love him, man. There's a line early on that I had from him too, but he's the one that says, I don't know if you've heard, but
punk trash haters.
I don't know if you've heard, but Jim Kringle passed away. Which is a line that film Twitter really loves. I'll be scrolling on my feed, and sometimes I'll just see someone just post that quote. It's pretty good.
Just quote it, yeah. Kris Kringle, Christmas Adventures.
Exactly. I mean, the whole Christmas Adventure is like when we're down in the belly of like the Beverly Hills house or whatever. Incredibly off-putting and scary stuff. That is just they're just like, what the fuck is all of this, man?
Hail Satan, Nick.
Hail Saint Nick, of course.
Yeah.
The other thing was, hang on, now it's slipped my mind, and I cannot believe.
Oh no!
It's slipped my mind. Does anyone else?
You had something on that, Tucker?
Yeah. Oh, I remember.
I've been
sorry. I remember, but it's the needle drops. I mean, PTA has always been good at needle drops, and I love every single one here. From your Steely Dan dirty work when we do the time skip, that one fucking hits like crack. The Ready or Not Jackson 5 one is awesome. The American Girl at the end is just send the audience out on a fucking high with a Tom Petty like pop rock song. And there's one more that I'm forgetting. No, I don't know. But they're all great. They're all fucking great.
Yeah, they're all great. A moment that I love is when DiCaprio is we're in the chase scene. He's hot wired the car. He's driving away. I mean, PTA knows his automobiles too, because he picks very specific models and years and stuff to have these characters driving around in, including this one that DiCaprio steals. Yes. I love it when he goes up to like the fruit stand and he like speaks in like sort of broken but like mostly intelligible Spanish to like find out where to go, and then does the whistle as he's leaving out.
No, para allá.
Yeah, and it's just like, the charisma of that character comes into like the mission has been reformulated in his mind, and here he goes. He's like, he knows what to do, and he's off, and it's been the clouds have lifted for like a moment
because he lets the car that Will's in drive right by him.
Yes.
Tucker, do you have any call-outs you want to make? I have a couple.
Sorry, I interrupted you.
I just like the way that the Christmas Adventurers talk. I mean, they're like
the corpo
they're
speak.
Like so deep into it's corpo speak, but it's also like they've got their own little bro code. They've got like funny little slang words that like they all take very, very seriously.
What
like double Yankee white background check?
Yeah. And like that, when they're like trying to avoid saying it, they're like, what kind of mixed race is the child? And then they're like,
it's tough for me to say.
There's no easy way to say this.
There's always a way to say this.
It's so funny. Yeah, I think that scene in the Christmas Adventurers hideout is one of my favorites in the film because it plays into this like unique sense of character that this movie has, where ultimately what these guys are talking about is racial purification and is deeply
eugenics.
It's eugenics, and it's also that specific scene is that one of the worst things that someone can do is have a mixed race child. So it's got these like obviously very dark thematics going on to it. But I'm like kind of laughing my ass off during that scene because it's also like the funniest lingo, and like you get the oldest man that was ever born like sitting in the back and just like withering away into dust.
We should all be able to eat off the floor. Like, I think it is it's a really interesting thematic balancing act to make that feel ridiculous and you're just saying what the fuck the whole time, but then you listen to the words they're saying and you understand the meaning behind them and you're like, this is dark and scary shit, man.
Yeah.
I'll just make a couple of brief call outs. I think it is so funny the way that they, at the end of the movie, at many points in the movie, they've got Sean Penn dressed in the fucking smarmy Young America's Foundation fucking little blazer
and blazer and khakis combo as his like nice clothes, like the one set of nice clothes that he has is so perfect and telling.
Yeah, that is super good. I love I love how insidious the 1776 like white supremacist militia are, and I love Avanti going and getting the keys, unlocking Willa's handcuffs, and then just blowing that fucking guy to Kingdom Come.
This guy that he's operator,
as he's hurling
he's
hurling slurs at Avanti, and he just fucking blows him away.
They got characters in this movie pulling out esoteric slurs that like. They're doing like some eldritch racism in this movie, which is crazy. And I just want to generally shout out Eric Schweig, I believe is how you say Avanti, the name of the man who plays Avanti. Very, very, very good. And I also just wanted to very quickly shout out Paul Grimstad, who plays the Billy Goat, Howard Somerville.
Yes.
Yeah. He has a great scene.
I really like his performance, and I think it's really haunting the way that after he's black bagged and taken away, the two young kids go in to leave the message on his station. So I punch in a score. I think it's probably no great surprise what number I put in there.
I'll punch in a score here in a second.
Let me just then before you hit because I just gotta, truly my favorite element of this movie is the preponderance of radio and low-tech communication. Yes, I own an iPhone, but yes, I also side with the Luddites who are broadcasting. And when we've reached our ending, how is the news about a raid 3.5 hours away being distributed on the motherfucking shortwave, man, on the ham radio? God, I love that. It's just like, if you want to be serious about this kind of stuff, not like it's any time to be serious about it, but these things exist, and you don't actually have to text on your iPhone to contact somebody.
True.
I'll call you on the ham next time.
Bob just learned how to take a selfie, man.
Yeah,
and don't bring your phone to a protest.
Yeah.
Speaking of radio, don't bring your phone to a protest. Let's put in a score.
Okay,
alrighty, 3, 2, 1, go.
Deep-a-deep-boo.
Ooh, okay. Wow. We have got quite a score.
There she is.
There she blows a 9.5. That would be the number. Point breakdown is Tucker gave it an 8.7. I gave it a 9.1. Tanner and Abram, 2 flat 10s. They were the same hosers to give Sinners 2 flat 10s. So it really came up to Tucker and I to decide where it goes. But if you could imagine, 9.5, one below Sinners at 9.6. So one battle will go at spot number 2 on our 2026 Oscars Best Picture nominees ranked list. Tanner, let's quickly hit the nominees for this one.
Okay. There's a lot at the Oscars. This film is nominated for Best Picture, of course, and it's also Paul Thomas Anderson is nominated for Best Director. Chase Infiniti is not nominated for Best Lead Actress. You know, the Valor was stolen from her by Kate Hudson doing a Wisconsin accent, of course. Must be nominated naturally.
She would have been she would have been in lead?
Yeah. She was campaigning if I can get into the weeds briefly. Some people point to that. Some people point to that as being the reason why she was not nominated, because you can be campaigned in whatever you like, but voters can still vote for you in the supporting category. And, that is kind of the delineation that people pointed out, is that like some Oscar voters were probably voting for her in the supporting actress category and some were putting her in lead. So that might be the reason why she missed out. That and the breakneck campaigning Kate Hudson was doing. Anyway, Leonardo DiCaprio is nominated for Best Actor. Teyana Taylor is nominated for Best Supporting Actress. Two boys, Benicio Del Toro and Sean Penn, both nominated in Best Supporting Actor. It is an adaptation of Thomas Pynchon's Vineland, so it is nominated in Best Adapted Screenplay. It's nominated in Casting. It is nominated in Cinematography, Editing, Production Design, Sound, Score, and that's it.
What's the total number on that sucker?
Let's
13,
find out.
I believe.
It was 13. You're right.
13.
Oh, that's one off from the previous record,
from the record. If fucking Chase Infiniti would have gotten in, I think they put her in lead because they didn't want to risk the splitting that is kind of happening in supporting actor between Benicio and Sean. So that's maybe why they campaigned her in lead, but she probably would have gotten in supporting actress anyway.
Tanner, last thing, can you give me the percentage chance of this winning Best Picture?
So my answer on this
what are the market makers
day-to-day.
saying on it? What are our favorite CNN sponsors prediction markets saying?
If you
I will not
me,
utter the names. I will not utter the names.
I don't know what I'll utter the names. I don't know what fucking Kalshi and Polymarket and what they're saying on this. But my feeling on this is basically since last Thursday morning has been Sinners now has a better chance than it ever has in like the past 6 months to win to win Best Picture. I would still lean One Battle After Another. I think the narrative of crowning Paul Thomas Anderson, who has never won an Oscar before, is just too great in the Academy, whereas Ryan Coogler has a very promising career ahead of him and has been, recognized by the Academy, nominated, of course, fairly recently. So the percentage chance, if you ask the tan market, is probably like on its, again, it fluctuates. The market fluctuates. I would say best day 70-30. If you really got me, like if I'm listening to some propaganda and people herming and hawing, I'm like, it might be a 50-50. But so let's even that up, call it a 60-40 chance, let's say.
Okay, between Sinners and One Battle After Another.
Yes. And then Hamnet is let's be real about Hamnet. It's like a 2% chance.
Well, that leads us into
2%.
Our next
it's 102
topic.
Forget about it.
Topic of discussion, Tanner. Yes. What film are we going to be watching and reviewing?
Well,
next?
I accidentally didn't ask you guys what your preference would be, so I'm making an executive decision. We're just gonna roll right over to the Netflix streaming service and watch Train Dreams on there.
Sure.
Well, very nice.
Putter over to your nearest device.
Exactly, any device ever. You can probably watch it on your fridge if you want.
I'm gonna watch it on my Apple Watch as I sit on the toilet.
Don't watch this one on your Apple Watch. It's a very pretty looking movie, I would say.
I'll give it the treatment it deserves.
Yes.
I actually know nothing about Train Dreams.
This one is like the dark horse candidate for me. I have no clue.
Yeah.
What or how.
It was just a very quiet, like popped into the Best Picture 10 for a while, like in predictions, and just like chugged right along. It's got a couple nominations under its belt. I think this film is quite excellent. I'm interested to rewatch it because there has been some Train Dreams disparagers and haters on the internet. So I'm interested to rewatch.
Punk trash.
And punk trash and haters, yes. But I think it's a very agreeable, nice sort of period drama that we've got ourselves here.
Cool. Well, that'll be fun to watch next time. So that's going to do it from us today. Thanks for talking about One Battle. If you've got thoughts on it, maybe your favorite needle drop, or which lines made you laugh the most in the theater, write that stuff down in the comments below. Do all that normal YouTube stuff. You know what it is. I'm not saying it this time. We've gone on plenty long for a normal episode. Okay, Train Dreams next time. Train Aficionado right here. Going to have some thoughts. I hope you guys do too.
Dream Aficionado right here.
Right. Yeah, I've seen catching your yana. We got to get you to bed.
Tucker, unfortunately, you're a Marty Supreme hater. You don't dream big. You can't be a dream aficionado.
That's so fucking true, actually.
So true. Wow. Well, chew on that. We'll see you next time. Stay cool. Keep warm. Peace.
That's not the answer.
That's what Sensei said.
I'm calling in a Greyhawk 10.
You're calling in a Greyhawk 10.
Does that mean go get your boss?
Yeah, clearly.
That's so
obviously.
Stupid. That's so fucking stupid. Why do you
It's almost like it's the point. It's almost like it's the point. It's almost like it's that.
Shut your mouth. Shut your mouth. We gonna begin.
He got it.
He understood. He got. Hey everybody. Well.